Hello and welcome to It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi. Joining me today is Ben Myers, who is president of Bullpen Research and Consulting. Ben was involved, the company was involved with rentals.ca in producing the recent national rent report. Thanks for joining us today, Ben.
Thanks for having me, Mario.
Let's focus, Ben, on Calgary data and Calgary numbers. What does the research show you about what's happening in the rental market when it comes to the vacancy rate in Calgary these days?
Yeah, well, the vacancy rate, went, way up, in 2014, 2015, following kind of the collapse in the oil price, and that actually went down a little bit over the last few years. But the pandemic is wreaking havoc, and we won't actually see the real impact of that until we get the CMHC numbers, which CMHC does their survey in October, and those numbers may not be released to the start of 2021. So we really won't get a sense of what's happening in terms of vacancies, and probably till next year.
So any ballpark figure what the overall vacancy rate would be right now?
Oh man, I mean it's really hard to tell. With the rentals.ca information that I'm looking at every single day, I focus a little bit more on the rental rates, and so obviously the decline in the rental rates is telling you that the vacancy rates are going up because the tenants have more power, and there's obviously more supply in the market that is driving the rents down. So
Yeah.
The August numbers just came out, as you mentioned, in the national rent report. Just focusing on rental apartments where the majority of the listings are on rentals.ca in Calgary. The average price a year ago, the average rent was $1,377 a month. That's dropped $100 over the year, so it's now $1,277 per month. So a 7% decline year over year. So that's a pretty significant drop in rents in a single year. So and then we're seeing that really in several of the major markets across Canada, specifically Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, more so in the downtown cores than overall in the suburban markets.
Now, what are the key factors right now that are, I guess, affecting the rental market in Calgary?
Yeah, I mean, I think Calgary is the same factors that are impacting other major markets. We've had a lot of job loss because of COVID-19, specifically in the service sector and blue collar workers, and they make up a higher percentage of the renters. So we're seeing young professionals move back in with mom and dad. We're seeing people that would have been starting their careers staying at home or staying with roommates when they maybe they would have branched out on their own and taken their own unit. We have short-term rentals coming back onto the long-term market because of the lack of tourism happening in the marketplace. And then there's immigration. There's been major declines in immigration into this country because of restrictions at the border. So
Yeah.
those are probably the major factors that are impacting the market. And then layer on top of that in the Calgary market, struggles in the well-documented struggles in the energy sector. Which is, probably, causing a lot more job loss in your market than it is in several of the other major markets in Canada.
Yeah, with the challenges that the housing market faces these days, and I'm talking about whether it's new homes or whether it's resale homes. When times are tough and people are worried about their jobs, houses aren't sold like crazy. They in the good times. Has that been proving beneficial for the rental market?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, right? When interest rates are low, it usually gets
Yeah.
people to go out and buy homes, and you think economic theory would tell you the lower the
Yeah.
price, the more demand there should be, but the housing tends to be opposite. If prices are going down, then people don't want to buy, so they're worried about putting that 5% or 10% down and that equity disappearing within a year or two. So,
Yeah.
I imagine there's probably a little bit more rental demand than there has been in the past. But again, with kind of the uncertain times that we're experiencing now because of the pandemic, 1 and 2 bedroom units. I'm just looking at some of the data here from rentals.ca. 1 and 2 bedroom units down by about $60 a month. So from a year earlier. So it's certainly cheaper to rent. And then I was trying to, is that the right metric to look at? So I took a look at the rent per square foot
Oh, yeah.
for rental apartments in Calgary, and it's been virtually the same for almost 2 years at $1.85 per square foot on average. It
Ah,
dipped down for only 2 months during the pandemic to about $1.75, and it went back up over the last 2 months. So it
yeah.
looks like the people that are in the market for a rental are going back out. So the rents have kind of popped back up slightly to its long-term average. But yeah,
Yeah.
very difficult to tell. What's the driving factor? I think people do want to own, but there's fear that the value of their home's going to go down and they're going to lose money or be forced to sell or
Yeah.
lose out on that down payment.
One last thing, Ben, in this type of environment, in this type of market, are we seeing more incentives being offered by landlords beyond obviously the price, but other things being offered to entice people to join, sign up?
Yeah. A lot of landlords are offering, that they're actually marketing 1 month or even 2 months of free rent. And then there's the stuff that's kind of happening behind the scenes that I wouldn't be tracking at rentals.ca, but you certainly hear anecdotally about, landlords making a commitment to improve the unit, to add some window coverings, to add a ceiling fan, to improve the appliances to get somebody in there. And those are kind of typically the best things that a landlord can do, because then that stuff will carry on to the next tenant after this tenant leave. So I'm certainly hearing about some of those things anecdotally, but again, I wouldn't know how prevalent they are across the board. And again, the other point I do want to make is the rentals.ca information is asking rent. So there could be a lot of negotiation happening once that tenant gets in there and says, "Yeah, I'm really interested, but Bob over here has got one for
Yeah.
1,400, and I'd really prefer to live here. What can you do?" And so that information is not being captured in our data. So
Okay, super then. Well, thanks a lot for joining us today, Ben.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. That was Ben Myers, who is president of Bullpen Research and Consulting, talking about the National Rent Report, the most recent National Rent Report. This has been It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi. Thanks for joining us today.